Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard and we are at Curious Design Yatra in Goa. Now, stories about Graham Fink have left us fascinated. From dressing up as an old man to get a job when the interviewer thought he looked too young, or to leave a well-paying job in UK to move to China. Well, Graham Fink is full of surprises. We caught up with him on the sidelines of Curious Design Yatra and he spoke about what he loves about advertising and what he absolutely hates. Let's take a look. Graham, we have heard a lot of stories about you, from you being dressed as like an old man to get that job in an agency, to you moving to China from UK. What was that like? What made you take that decision to move from UK to China?
Okay, so I've been in London a long time, all my advertising life. Worked in many different agencies and then had a stint as a director. Came back to the agency world and I was very happy. I was working at Embassy Saatchi. You know, we were doing very well as an agency, winning lots of awards, had a fantastic creative department. But when this job offer came in and the name Shanghai was mentioned, I thought, wow, you know, that's such an exciting city. I'd been there 2 years previously and I thought it was a bit like the new New York. There was so much energy and there was a lot of passion there, real can-do attitude. And I thought, if I don't do this now, I never will. So I decided to go.
So do you see this difference, applies between UK and China to only China, or it applies to countries like India as well, or the other Asian countries?
I see a lot of similarities between, China and India, and a lot of people I've talked to here, they say, wow, a lot of the difficulties that we have in terms of the size of the country and the different dialects spoken and trying to do messages that run right across a really big country that appeals to everyone is very, very different. In China we have many different provinces, and I think Millward Brown say what works in one province won't necessarily, only has a 52% chance of working in another. So there are a lot of similarities. Yeah.
You have dedicated so many years of your life to advertising. What is that thing about advertising that you love the most, that makes you go to your work every day?
Okay, well, I think that's an easy one for me. I just love creativity and I love energy and ideas. And I think, there's all this new stuff in the world now, all the different media channels, but for me, the idea is the most important thing. And there's nothing that gives you me a kick, as sitting in a room, working with people, and then suddenly you crack that idea. It's a fantastic feeling.
What is it that you absolutely hate about advertising?
What do I hate? I tell you, there's one thing that I don't agree with that much. Is if everyone is trying to do good stuff, and occasionally people make mistakes, right? And they put something out that people don't like, and on social media, everybody tends to really have a go at it and really pan it. And it's when everybody jumps in on that bandwagon and everybody sort of tries to kick it and knock that down. I think the world could do with a bit more positivity, a bit more optimism. That's one of the reasons I decided to speak here, because the theme is optimism. But yeah, I just kind of wish, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We're all trying to do good.
Since you said India and China are very similar markets, what is it that you make of the Indian advertising industry?
Well, of course, I've only been here, a few times. I see quite a bit of the work from India when we have our internal meetings. But I'm certainly not an expert, But some of the stuff that comes out that I see that our Ogilvy office does, I think is wonderful. I think there's a lot of great storytelling there, and storytelling is a very big part of what we do.
So how do you see advertising shape up in the coming days? Because everyone is talking about data, everyone's talking about storytelling for that matter, everyone is talking about how can we connect and engage with the consumers using different platforms. Idea has become increasingly more important. Somebody says content is important. So how do you see advertising shaping up in the coming days?
Well, I think it's changing fast. There's no doubt about that. And one thing that really interests me is AI. And there's a lot of discussion about that at the moment. And if you look at some of the people who are, you know, the so-called experts in the world, they're all at loggerheads. You have people like Elon Musk, who kind of thinks it's all going to be doom and gloom, although I think he has a kind of an agenda because he wants to get us all to Mars. But you've got Stephen Hawking saying that, you know, it could be the end of civilization. But you have people like Bill Gates, he's much more optimistic, and there's a futurist who I'm very interested in, a guy called Ray Kurzweil, who talks about that we are going to get much smarter and we're going to get funnier, we're going to write better music. And I'm kind of in that camp. You know, I think that what we need to do is to not be frightened of AI. I think we need to embrace it, we need to work with it, and I think it can make us much better.
We are at Curious Design Yatra, and you've been like a graphic designer yourself. How can design build a case for better advertising in the future?
You know, both advertising and design has a kind of a duty to make things, you know, at least look good. And you know what really, another thing that really annoys me is when I see stuff that we produce that looks awful, you know, like out-of-home posters that are so messy, so badly designed, or print ads. You've got to remember that everything we do goes out into culture and affects culture and becomes part of culture. And if you see something that is really ugly, I might as well take my rubbish bin and empty the contents in the street. You know, it's as bad as that. And I think we have to be really, really careful about what we do. And if clients are pushing back and making us make stuff work, we need to be brave, and we've got to stand up and say no.
Yeah.
You know, we need to be very careful about what we're putting out there because it has a huge effect on people.
Yeah. Do you see design becoming mainstream at, let's say, like a Cannes, Lions? Because, you know, it has its own Grand Prix, it has its own dedicated category in the main awards. But still, the biggest of the biggest winners, like the stars of, you know, Cannes every year, are the films and the film crafts of the world. And innovation, which was introduced this year, which is increasingly gaining significance. And the world is moving towards creative data and, you know, creative effectiveness kind of categories. Do you think design will gain significance in the coming years?
I think design is crucial. You know, I think it's at the heart of everything we do. I mean, just on my way coming here, you know, I was at 3 different airports. You know, Singapore and Goa and Mumbai, and Mumbai is a huge airport, and it could do with better signage. I tell you, the designers doing the signs, they need to work a bit harder because it's very confusing walking around that place. And so, design is at the very heart of a lot of stuff we do. I mean, just checking your phone, that's design. You know, sitting down. Everything is designed, so it's everywhere.
Yeah. What are the best creative designs that you've seen in the recent past that you absolutely adored?
That I think could be better designed is sockets to put your computer charger in, because how many times you put that big heavy computer charger in and it keeps falling out, you know, the one with the 2 pins?
Yeah.
And I tell all the designers out there, all you need to do, instead of putting the sockets this way around, put the sockets that way around so it won't fall out.
Or make it just a QI charging, charge enabled. All right, thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us.
Okay, great. Thank you.
They say that the first session and the last session of any event or seminar has to be the most impactful. Well, the first session was Graham's and the last session was by Samuel Ball, where he spoke about what can we learn from kids. On the other side of this break, I speak to Samuel Ball and find out what can brands learn from kids.